if you wanted to literally write a book about what is the mating behavior of Chinese vineyard snails in fall, we could research that.
Dang it! That was my next book. Actually, it was going to be a romance, but
right.
Snail erotica is the next big thing. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I tell you.
Welcome to the Two Authors Podcast, an entertaining chat show hosted by best-selling mystery and thriller authors Douglas Pratt and Nicholas Harvey, in lively, humorous and informative conversation with distinguished guests who share their thoughts and experience about forging a successful author career.
Hi folks, and welcome to this week's show. Douglas Pratt, how are you?
I am fabulous, Nicholas Harvey. How are you today?
I'm good. You look fabulous, may I say.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very nice.
Pretty shiny dome.
Oh, yeah. Freshly shaved.
It looks like you freshly shaved for the listeners. So
just for the listeners to see. So,
all right. Show brought to you by our friends at Vellum, the best book formatting solution available. Great stuff to be found. And a big thank you to all our Patreon supporters, something we just started a little while back, and it's rolling along. You support the show at patreon.com/The Two Authors Podcast. If you're not familiar with Patreon, it's a creatives support site. We have a free level. You can just go in, check it out, and there's some little bits and pieces there in for free, or you can subscribe.
Actually get the podcast.
Yeah, and
so if you want to go in and grab the podcast, it's available there as well, too.
You can listen to it right there. And then if for about the price of one energy drink a month, you'll get our guest bonus questions, which we record, and our weekly podcast nuggets packed full of nutritious information.
And our undying love.
Of course. All right, let's get on to this week's guest because he's a great guy, Alex Newton of K-Lytics. Let's talk with Alex. Alex, welcome to the show. It's lovely to see you again, and thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Hi, everybody. Hello to all listeners out there from Switzerland here.
Wow, he used plural. He's ambitious. He used plural. So tell us a little bit about K-Lytics and what it provides for authors.
So there we go. K-Lytics, we are in our 11th year now. It all started during the Kindle Gold Rush. That's why it's called K-Lytics. The first launch name was Kindle Analytics.
I bet somebody had something to say about that.
Yeah, my lawyer sort of said, look, you want to drop the Indle from the Kindle. So we ended up with K-Lytics. And we basically provide market research to authors so that you can research less, write more, and hopefully rank higher. And it's a couple of ways we do this and have built it up over the last 11 years now.
Tell us a little bit about what we can do with it. Like, what's the great benefit for it?
Basically, like back then, up to the present day, the whole mission is basically twofold. It's, for one, to help indie publishers, indie authors, and also increasingly publishing companies and agents to strategically think about what markets they want to serve. You can dub it write to market, publish to market, market to market. But the essence is it's a bit more the strategic question. So if you are in there pitching a new project to yourself and, your wife says, do you really want to publish in this market segment? Will you be able to pay the bills? That's where we come in to basically look at, does the market have legs? What's the level of competition? What is the growth rate? What is the price levels? So all these questions that any business would probably answer by way of market research before they launch into a big investment, whether that is, in the case of an author, usually time and creativity, but down the road, obviously also money when it comes to advertising, editing, you name it. So that's the strategic side. And the other side is probably a bit more tactical because once your project is done, or even while you're writing, you may become a little more tactical. So I decided on, let's say, romantasy. But within romantasy, so apart from the dragons, what is out there as character tropes that are trending? Once you get into the cover design, what are the leading cover designs, but not just by, this is what I happen to see on the Amazon site, but more in terms of what are the 7 cover market cliches that work and what is their exact market share and what is that market share over what the market share of that cover type has been over the last year. So it gets a bit more tactical, then also down into pricing. What's the price distribution of the top 100 titles versus the rest of the market? To, do I want to price higher, at par, below the market? You get the idea. So essentially, it's two pillars, very strategic question about essentially what to write, and then a second pillar that you can use the tools for and the reports for that help answer the more technical question as to how to market or what to do in specific.
I think I'd add something in there that it's you. If you're on the right track and you grab this beforehand, then you're looking at what to write. It also works really well when you've already written it and you're like, my advertising's not working, or how can I boost my advertising and who can I look at, right? And you can go in and see where you're sitting in that marketplace and who else is in there.
Absolutely. We actually have a lot of clients who also use the information to optimize what they already have, whether it's currently written titles or to give new life to a backlist, refurbish the covers, get the pricing, the metadata right. And even while writing, so we had people who basically, they already decided on, let's do a Western romance. Okay. But within that, do you go historical romance? Do you go faith-based romance? Do you go steamy, contemporary? And just coincidentally, we're working actually on a new product, a new report right now, which is our cowboy and Western romance report, which we haven't updated in 4 years. And now I see the romance bestseller list basically being plastered with country and Western type of titles, but they are not like the old-fashioned type of country novels, country and Western romance novels that we had, years back. They're like very modern. They mix like, small town with a rugged mountain little city. And yeah, there is the cowboy vibe, but it's really brought to this century, if you will, and very successfully done by some of the authors. So it helps you also then, as you say, you decided to write, in this case, a Western romance, but you want to give it this like new trending modern touch. And that's where the information comes in while you're still writing.
One of the things we met at NINC last year, where we happened to run across each other at a dinner. I had a lovely conversation with you, and you were probably stuck in a corner with me, but I had a lovely conversation with you, and that's generally the way it works.
Cheryl was with you, so I'm sure he was perfectly fine.
That's a bonus. So,
full disclosure, it was a pleasure. Thank you for meeting me.
Thank you. Well, the two presentations you did at NINC were fantastic, and one of the things that really grabbed my attention was when you did this analysis of color schemes for genres that you pulled out of the information. Talk a little bit about that, because that was fascinating.
Yeah, we're not doing it for like each and every genre, but there are some genres where the color coding embedded in the cover design is like a real signal to the readers what they're actually getting. And the exhibit you're referring to is the paranormal romance report that we do every year. And in there, it is basically about colors, the orange. What is the market share of like an overall orange touch, which is usually like shifter romance? What about the more red and black covers that would be signal more, this is vampire? Then you get the greenish thing, which can be either alien or it can be monster romance. You will get the bluish thing, usually sci-fi romance. So there is market shares and clear signals of the colors that are used in the things. I think we've already done it once for Regency romance, I remember now, which was very much, you had all these, I think they're not Regency dresses, but for marketing purposes, it's all these like long gowns that the women wear. And as always, well, what's the color? Is it the red? Is it the purple? Is it the magenta, the pink, and the green, you name it? And while Bridgerton was, big, you could really then also look at, well, what are the trending colors that go in the cover design with it?
What do you think is, I guess, the most challenging aspect for an idiot like me to go through this report and kind of get out of this? Or what is the thing I'm missing in that process?
Well, one thing which you really should do, which you frankly cannot miss, is to watch the video that comes with a report.
Follow the instructions.
Oh, Oh, okay. So it's
follow the instructions.
It's like you're my wife, Nick. She's like, did you read them? I was like, no, I don't.
But I didn't. I started looking through the stuff. I'm like, wow, there's all this data. This is really cool. I'm like, I need a video. I went and found a video.
No, of course, once you've read the one or other report, you get a hang of it. But still in the video, I do two things. The one is I literally take you by the hand and like in a webinar or like at the NINC presentation, I guide you through this is what this chart actually means. And this is my take on the data. So there is also things of like between the line, which is the interpretation of the data. And with this, you should be fine. You can always send me a mail. If you say, hey, I have this report here and I just went through the 90 pages, but the one thing I'm really curious about and that I'm missing is this and that. So, just shoot us a mail. And if the information is available somewhere or can be generated, we'll try to do so.
I've heard, and I won't use this author's name because I don't want to lambaste him or anything, but I heard somebody mention at a conference how they took your report on, and I won't even give them a genre, but we'll just say it's romance, and threw it into AI to ask them to create a template for what the best storylines they could be is. And I'm curious if you've heard of other people doing something similar to kind of create that cheat sheet, I guess, that you could say.
Yeah, I mean, there's two or three things to that. I mean, first of all, we could probably spend the whole podcast on the issue of AI. I mean, I just presented at London where what we started to see back 2 years ago, where, for example, the number of self-published personal self-help, personal transformation titles has shot up from like 500 a month, which is already for my taste enough. Who needs all these self-help books?
It implies I want to fix myself, and I don't want to do that. I'm perfect. So.
So that was the first wave. But by now, between 2021 and right now, with the evolution of AI, the number of monthly published self-help titles has grown by a factor of 25. Nobody's buying these books, right? And they're all AI generated. And a year ago, people say, yeah, but that's not going to happen in fiction. Well, guess what? In fiction, number of thrillers per month published on Kindle, factor of 5. Sci-fi, I think, factor of 2 or 3. Romance, factor of 2. So it's happening. And of course, right now, the level of quality is mediocre, and I think few people are really worried, right? But there are many 50 shades of gray, pun intended, from utterly AI-generated rubbish down to authors who start using this to increase their productivity, crush through writer's block, you name it. And back to your question, I'm not advocating this. I cannot prevent it, but yes, people do use the reports to feed the AI. Why? Because in the reports you have rankings of quantified, this is the ranking of tropes or ranking of most popular character types. And there is a collation of like the top 100 book descriptions of ranked by 90-day sales performance. So I think that's the other thing. If you ask me, the one thing that people tend to miss about K-Lytics or when they compare us to others, we're not a software. We're not a tool. We do curated genre reports and provide market research services. Why that? And that's also the important thing for even if you wanted to use it for feeding the AI, which I think is, as I said, I don't think we need all those books out there. But by all intended purposes, if you went down the road, the rankings we do in the reports are based on like usually a quarter, 90 days of performance. And that is so much different from any like real-time tool or desktop-based like quote unquote software, because we've done an empirical analysis on the fluctuations and, what is the dwell time of a title in the top 100. I mean, sales ranks can fluctuate by 100% within 24 hours and average is 25% fluctuation. And within 30 days, you've seen titles who've been in the top 100, which are then back into oblivion, sales rank, whatever, 23,000. So we really try to cut through the peaks and troughs of these hourly, by now more daily, weekly, monthly fluctuations to really say, well, these are the top books. These are the top authors. And then, of course, you can use that, I think, more productively to write better books and do better marketing. If you want to do marketing and you see what all the competitor names are, the character names, comparison books, you name it, you have all the data right there.
So what do you think is the most underutilized feature of the service?
The most underutilized service is probably the one I don't promote. We also do private projects. Now, please don't call me up. We have very limited bandwidth. That's probably the most underused one because it's not actively advertised. But we do also custom projects. So literally, I keep saying, if you wanted to literally write a book about what is the mating behavior of Chinese vineyard snails in fall, we could research that.
Dang it! That was my next book. Actually, it was going to be a romance, but
right.
Snail erotica is the next big thing. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I tell you,
it's a slow burn. Just so you know.
Oh, I think Steamy is trending these days. Not on market.
You found it. You found an equal dad joker to you there.
That was good. That was good.
All right. So talk us through a little bit about what a report looks like. And then this is tricky because we're audio only, but you're very descriptive. If we sign up, I'm saying this as though I haven't done it.
We've both done it. So.
And I got a lot out of it. It was really good. But walk us through it. What happens?
So basically, there are two things you can sign up to because we're serving, from beginners to professionals, from individual authors to publishing companies. So everybody has like completely different needs. So the service basically has two possible options. The one is the memberships, and there is essentially two paid ones, a premium membership and an elite membership. And there are the reports, which can be purchased a la carte. Now, with a membership, you basically get access to all the reports. So that's, if you ask me what's underutilized, that's often underutilized because you can save money. And obviously, the membership doesn't come with strings attached, but we do appreciate people obviously supporting us and supporting the research in our cause through the memberships. Now, with the memberships, you get access to what I call the category performance database. With a premium level, you get it down to some 450 subcategory levels on Amazon. If you go elite, you get like the full spectrum of 8,800 something Kindle categories, which we cover in there based on vast sampling over a month always to update that spreadsheet. So it's not just one-time snapshots. It's really representative for the month. And this is more for the geeks, so it's a downloadable spreadsheet. It's it has links to the browse categories and to the bestseller list, which, by the way, are two entirely different things. And from there, you can really sort, filter what is within romance, what's the highest selling category, what's the lowest competition category, what is a category that has the best ratio of level of sales versus the level of competition you're facing, what is the category with the least number of titles in there, what's the category where the average rank over a month for the number one title is the lowest, where it's easiest to rank. So very tactical, but you can also use it for strategic purposes. If you're not a numbers geek and not into spreadsheet, you can always, with a membership also, or a la carte, through our shop, opt to buy genre reports. So the genre reports, typically, if you go for like a subgenre report that does a deep dive into a specific genre, they very much have a standardized structure and are a PDF, say about 90 pages, of which there is a pretty big appendix with all the book descriptions of the top 100 90-day performance books. But in there, we would basically do a bit of theory about the genre, which sometimes it's very important. For example, when we did the first ever cozy fantasy report, everybody is talking about cozy fantasy. But what is it really? Well, we identified 26 other genres that tried to have a piece of the cake, and quantified how much everything gets. So getting into genre definitions, sub-definitions, which help the writing without getting academic, though. That's what I always stress. And then we get into the fun part, the numbers. Has that market been going up over time, going down, trending sideways? What are the top books? What are the top publishers? What are the price points? What are the price points? Are they going up, going down? What's the list of characters, for example? What is the list of highest trending tropes? So that's a bit of a laundry list, but that is a type of information you get, including 10-year curves on publishing activity in the genre versus interest in the genre. So supply and demand measures over the long run, which is an important discussion, down to what you mentioned at the beginning, market shares for cover archetypes and these sort of things.
When I was before I launched my latest series, the Cat Cromwell series, I spent some time digging through the reports in the thriller, mystery and police procedural kind of area. And there was one chart that had the subgenres on a graph, and kind of there was a mean line, and then there was sort of bubbles of sections of what was trending and moving. And you please describe this better than the mess I'm making of it. But that was, if you know the one I'm meaning, it was really useful to me.
No, totally. It's actually I'd call it our landmark analysis. It's been there as a framework for 10 years, and it's basically a map, and we call it the K-Lytics strategy map, that has dots on it. Some also call it the snowflake or the sneeze picture, dismissively. Or if you're in police procedurals, the blood splatter on the wall.
I was going to say, that was my first thought, was blood splatter. I was like,
the blood splatter on the wall, where every little dot of blood is a category or bestseller list. And the higher the bestseller list is on the wall, to stick with your analogy, the higher it is on the wall, the better the sales rank. The further the dot is to the right of the wall, the higher the level of competition. And so you get these clusters of things. So to make a very concrete example, the one absolutely most successful bestseller list right now in mystery, thriller, suspense, and has been so for more than a year, is the domestic thriller bestseller list and browse category. Why? With Freida McFadden and alikes driving the sales like crazy up across the top 20, you probably have an average sales rank of around 100 or 150 in the Kindle store, average. Whilst I think the category is still way below 10,000 titles in the category, and the number of new titles coming out every month is pretty minute compared to whatever paranormal romance. And with that, you have a dot, which are like right there, up there in the middle. And and sometimes I'm really surprised. We do a domestic thriller, psychological thriller report every year. It's one of my worst selling reports, while it is the number one most attractive market. And sometimes I really go, why? Because so many authors, I should do a survey. It seems to me that the average author in mystery, thriller, suspense thinks, if I do this, I have to write Hannibal Lecter and like really gritty, dark, serial killer, psychological, you name it. No, that psychological thriller is from like 30 years back. Right now, I sometimes even call it romance in disguise, because Freida McFadden has also some slow burn or at least short-term steamy stuff in there. And you go like, no, nobody's writing it, but everybody wants to write cozy mystery. And I say, no. You know, why do you go in this completely oversaturated field while there is like this gem right in front of you, almost uncontested?
I spent quite a long time with that chart, chasing dots, looking at all these, trying to get as far up and as far over to the left, I think it was, as you wanted to get, right? You wanted least competition with the most activity and highest rank right now. You wanted something really, and of course, what I was writing fell right kind of in the middle of stuff. But if you were ready to go right to market and venture out somewhere, there was some outliers, and it clearly showed those really well on that map.
And in my mind, the map is really always only a starting point. Obviously, there's also, albeit much better now, category pollution, miscategorized titles. There's always a bit of a skew. So you have to look into then the category, what is driving that performance. So for example, you will find another dot, which is like performing crazily well, which would be organized crime literature. Well, guess what? It's not organized crime literature in the sense of mystery, thriller, suspense. It is mafia romance, which basically hijacked the organized crime category. But having said this, the performance is there. So you have to look at what's driving the performance and then dig deeper. And I think the last thing I'd always comment on this is right to market has two equations, right? Two parts to it. Right, that's your job. And the market, that's the reader's job. And to connect the two is my job, like the market research. However, the writing part, I always say you have to write with love, something you're passionate about, something you have the craft skills for, because probably writing Clive Cussler type of action sequences is different from a slow burn romance description. And you have to have a certain knowledge or close the knowledge gap. So I guess you wouldn't be talking about Navy SEALs if you've never met a Navy SEAL or have not the faintest clue about how the military works. Or a legal thriller would an even better example. If you don't know legal proceedings, you have no business trying to be the next Grisham. So these three things then, in my mind, should be overlaid with the market data, and where the two intersect, that is where the magic can happen. I think what I advise people not to do, but there's always people who try, they basically, let's sign up to K-Lytics, let's get into the strategy map, let's sort the table by, best sales to competition ratio, and I'm going to write this, and I'm going to hire ghostwriters to do so. And that model, I've seen it very rarely work. Why? Because the love, the passion, knowledge and craft factor have just been missing. And that's how you probably today can't succeed in this competitive market.
Yeah, and it is very competitive now. So okay, you've talked a little bit, you have one-off reports, and then you could have the membership. So, you want to kind of touch on the cost that people are looking at for that? Currently, obviously, here in 2025, so I'm sure it can change next year, but
it's very simple. So all the a la carte reports that you can, which are either genre overview reports, they would be a bit broader in nature, but very broad, less deep. Or you have like subgenre reports, which go very deep, but are then obviously more narrow in scope, in genre scope. They're priced at $47, and they are usually one report, 90 pages, plus one or two bonus reports in many cases. And they come with usually a 45 to 1 hour something type of seminar video, which gives you the whole package. And it will give you a lot of things to ponder about for your existing or planned project.
It's a lot of, some people like that's a lot for people to look at, but that's a lot of research that people pay a lot of money for that kind of, big companies do this kind of market research just to do all sorts of advertising and product development. So it's not any different than writing.
And by all means, the type of reports we're selling, I come from a corporate world, and I know that the very information, a report for $47 for an indie author, which I know for some is well, for everybody it is money, but I know that exactly that content I could probably sell to a trad publisher for $47,000 a piece if it was custom made. Very confident that would be the case. I'm very confident that I could do that because I've done it. So with that is that type of investment. And I dare say that some of the data, if you venture to do it yourself, you'd never be able to get to it. We have 10 years of trend data. Nobody has that.
I think the videos are a big key part of it too, because some people are data driven and they're in a happy place with looking at spreadsheets and data, and other people are like, oh my God, I will go bananas.
He says, as I glass over and like,
No, it's, everyone's at varying comfort levels of looking at that sort of thing. But honestly, the video does the heavy lifting for you. When you watch the video, it walks you through all that stuff, and you go over and look at the report and go study it yourself. It's really useful.
Yeah, and also, I it's fair to say when I do get survey feedback, people always say the video and the report they go like hand in hand. It's like a web shop, like a webinar. It's like a workshop. And in the end of the day, my mission has always been, in 40 years of being in industry, to bring complex things down to hopefully simple insights, but very actionable and useful insights. And I always said, the data is only as good as people can understand it. And if the exhibits can be understood by, what did my boss always say? Grandmas, children, and corporate CEOs can understand it, then it's a good exhibit. And that's my mission.
It's very good. Yeah. Thank you so much, Alex, for joining us. This has been great. Listeners, you can find the links to K-Lytics as well in our show notes, as well as our author and show links. And if you can support the show at Patreon, visit us at patreon.com/the Two Authors Podcast. And your kindness helps cover the cost of this show. Big thanks also to our friends over at Vellum for their support. And we'll be back next week with a new episode of the Two Authors Podcast. Make sure you go to tryvellum.com/two authors to find out more.
Until next time, be cool to each other.
Fair winds and following seas.
You've been listening to the Two Authors Podcast with Nicholas Harvey and Douglas Pratt. Subscribe on your favorite platform for new shows coming every week.